레인이 말했듯이 저는 한국에서 살았어요. And 한국에 너무 너무 그리워요. 한국에서는 제 이름은 타니아였어요.
Hello, I'm Layne Hartsell with the Korea IT Times, and I'm here with Tanjulia Akter, Senior Software Engineer, Engineering Manager at Electronic Arts, where she helps lead development of the Frostbite game engine, something exciting we'll talk about, and it's powering many of the Electronic Arts flagship video games like FIFA, Battlefield, and recognized as for her technical leadership as a senior architect on the Frostbite team. She serves in the Industry Advisory Board at the University of Victoria's Software Engineering area. She founded Women X in Engineering. I hope that said that right. And global networking platform and so forth and so on. Welcome, Tanjulia. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you very much.
I have a bio for you that goes on for a mile here. So 안녕하십니까.
안녕하세요. 레인이 말했듯이 저는 한국에서 살았어요. And 한국에 너무 너무 그리워요. 한국에서는 제 이름은 타니아였어요.
Welcome. Nice to see you. First of all, let's talk about your background. How did you get into, developing and coding? I mean, all of that's really complex stuff. I mean, this takes a lot of training. But where did you start out? What got your attention?
That's a good question. 좋은 질문이에요. So so I can give you a bit about my background. So I did not grow up in an environment where I was exposed to a lot of coding environment, things like that. Granted, I was always a studious child. So I have always really done well academically. So when I went to university, I was given an option of choosing any field that I wanted. So I really wanted to go into a challenging chapter of my life where I could actually challenge myself and get something new. But also at the same time, when I realized what I wanted to really do in my life, and this connects back to what I used to do in Korea. I used to run a lot of campaigns for children's rights and migrant workers' rights in what I used to be in Korea. That also was one of the deciding factors when I was deciding which field I wanted to go to. I really wanted to have my mark in the world. And I know everyone says that, but also when I thought about it, if you think about software engineering, it's one of the fields where you can make rippling changes across the borders with just being on your computer, on your couch, on the living room or something like that, right? It's something that is not defined by borders, that kind of, I think, levels the playing field for everyone. So that's why I wanted to pursue the engineering program. So I went into software engineering and it worked out really well for me. I was doing well. I really loved what I was learning. While I was at school, I worked at 5 different companies, some small to very, very much like grandfather companies. So I've worked at IBM, I've worked at Microsoft, I worked at mid-sized company to a very, very small startup at the time as well. So it was like basically 4 engineers and I was one of the lead engineers just working there, building up a product. They actually recently got acquired by KPMG, which is a very, very exciting thing that happened. So back in the day, so that was a couple of years ago, we were building AI that is now being, that's the new hot topic that's being used basically in Boeing and a lot of other places. Now to your question about like, how do I get into it? I think there's no other way but to actually just get your foot in and start trying everything that you can. So if you do not know how to write code, go online and search for how do I write a code? Start with Hello World. Start with making a small tweak here and there. Say how you can build a bigger program, make an app later on, make something even bigger. So I think there's just no other shortcut than you actually write your code. You try, get your hands dirty. That's the only way.
When was your first breakthrough? Like when did you get your first job that was really good, that people called on you?
Oh, honestly, that's a good question. There's two parts to that question. I think when you said like, when I found the job, honestly, the five different places that I have said I worked at, I found so many different ways that the job was the job. So, for
Okay.
example, in many places, in one of the companies, and I'm not gonna say which one, I learned that I was not meant to do that job. I was good at it, but that did not fill my cup.
Mhm.
I did not I did not want to continue that part of the equation. So I understood, okay, this was a great experience. This was a great job for me to learn what I do not like. The next one, I learned a new technology that I have never would have learned otherwise. But I did not stay at the company. I moved on to another place to find a better fit for myself. So I think every single company, every single work, no matter what you do, it's the perception that you have. It's never gonna be, I feel like, the job. Your priorities are going to change. Your values are going to change as you grow up, and the market is also going to change about what they care about. Like right now, for example, the real really the new hot topic is AI. A couple of years ago, it was blockchain and NFTs and all of that. So it's going to change day by day, and your interests and your values might also change day by day. So I have found that over the few years I've experimented with my career. So I wouldn't say like any one company was the company. It just led me to the position that I am at, and I'm really grateful for it.
Yeah, would it be correct to say that probably the developers are in the most dynamic area? I mean, yeah, it seems like that it's just changing so much. Like when you said back in the day, I mean, you can't be very old. A lot of young people back in the day would have been like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, no, I honestly, I think you've hit the nail on that part. So I do believe that as a developer or as an engineer, if you are not up to date and if you're not keeping up with the new technologies and the practices that are coming out, you're basically being obsolete. You can be the best at what you do, but it might not be. For example, the code that I write today might not be the best way to write code 10 years from now. It's going to become legacy. There's going to be something better and more efficient that's going to come out. So you have to always keep yourself sharp in terms of what you need to learn. For example, let's go with AI. AI is not new. Just to put it out there, AI has
Right.
been here for many years. We have now seen a boom because of the. I mean, of course, it started off with ChatGPT putting out an LLM model that could be widely used by everyone, but also with the access that we have, there's a lot more saturation in the market with the type of industry, type of companies that we see in the market right now. So with an AI, if you are someone new that's coming into the field, how would you learn about it? Again, like I said, there's no better way to learn and keep up to date but to actually get your hands dirty. Try out different tools. Try building your own agent and try to see if you are, for example, if you are someone, and there's so many different ways of doing it. You can actually train your own model, get in the nitty-gritty weeds, make your own like LLM models with data sets that you can find somewhere else, or you can also like make your own. Could be expensive, but you could also be someone who's using some of the models available out there and then make an app out of it. So there's like so many different ways to use the new technology. So it's not just like you're sticking to one part that's called AI. The AI industry is very vast. People are in many different directions. There are so many umbrella terms that's being used out there. And you will find that that's the case for a lot of things that are coming in. Now it's AI. Next day, I don't know what the other thing is going to be, but no matter what it is, the only way to kind of keep yourself up to date is to kind of use the tools and technology over and over again when it comes out.
When you started out, do you start out with like C++ or Python, and then you go up to like Rust, or how do you, what's the progression? Yeah, how do you do it?
Oh, that honestly, I have a fun story for that one. So I started out with C. So my first class ever in university, like I said, I had no background in programming at all. So I did not even know how to write Hello World, basic function and how to write it. So the first class, unfortunately, so that was the first time I've come to Canada. It's a new country. I got lost in the campus. So I was trying to find my class, my first programming class. And by the time I found my class, the professor had already gone through what a variable is, what a function is, right? And then for the rest of the semester, I was confused about what a function is. I don't know why he's talking about a function. In my mind, like, I don't know what a function is. So I went the whole term without knowing what the function is. And then at the last stage, I'm like, oh, everything clicked all at once.
I see.
But C as a introductory language, not knowing what a function or a variable was, I would say it was a very steep learning curve. One thing about me, and I'm pretty sure there's a majority of population in engineering, is we love a challenge. So I took that as a
Right.
challenge, like, I'm going to learn what this is. So I learned about it. I learned what everything is basically in C, and I came up with a great mark. But what they gave me is actually an understanding of, so there are many different types of programming languages: functional programming, there's object-oriented programming, and all of that. But while I started off with C, it gave me a really clear understanding of what the low-level structure of a code should look like. When you go on to Java or Python, there's an abstraction layer that you can work with that that does a lot of things for you. For example, garbage collections and memory allocations and things like that. Those things you have to kind of take care of by yourself in C and C++. And I think for me, fortunately, when I had learned that in my first introduction, everything else that I did from then on was an easy breeze. So that was, I would say, a blessing in disguise.
So once you got up to say like the level of I'm trying to think of something. Rust comes to mind because that's a really difficult one. But say once you get to this level and then AI comes on. So around what was it, 2022? You mentioned ChatGPT. Did the learning process now accelerate because you can prompt the AI to make code? Is that happening now, or how does it work?
Yes and no. Let's go with that. There is, I would say, a lot of um, noise in the industry right now about how AI can replace developers and things like that. So let's think about what that really means, right? Um, when you ask ChatGPT, for example, to make a script, it does very well to a certain extent, but you have to be really good at prompting. There's a few different iterations for you to get through to get to a stage where you're comfortable of using that part. But writing a complex program, no tool has come to that position yet. Now, what I think, in my opinion, is all of these models that are out there will get you to the first stage of, like, this is maybe like a framework that I can use. But if you are not experienced, if you're not good at coding, you will sometimes miss out on some of the wrong information that the tool can give you. And it's, as your engineer, as your job, will be spent a lot of the times debugging that code, understanding where the bug is coming from, understanding, oh, this is not really correct. It looks kind of correct because it gives you this beautifully structured code, but it's not 100% correct. And if you don't put a code that is 100% correct, you're intentionally putting something that is buggy that will be coming back to you later. So you're basically paying for the speed right now for a potential tech debt later on. That's where I see it. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to be like that forever. I believe that the tools are going to get more sophisticated.
Mhm.
I do think that from what I have seen, like even a couple of years ago, now it's like miles different. So at this pace, I do see it being a lot more, efficient. Having said that, a good engineer is still going to be one of the most important thing to have in the room, just to make sure that you are using the tools the right way, you're getting the correct answers, you're using it in this infrastructure that you already have and you're trying to build, and is scaled to, like, it's built with scalability and all of the maintainability in mind. And I don't think that's going to replace, and I think it's going to make you more efficient, if anything.
I had a note about this, about bugs. How do you deal with bugs? I mean, like I looked on one thing, I think it's called Certic, CERTIK, something like that. They check for bugs. What do you all do?
Like, how do we find bugs?
Yeah, yeah. Like you say you write code, right? But you have to check it. What's the verification process that you use?
That's a good question. There's many different ways. So writing, the first form of catching a bug, honestly, is by writing code test. So if you write there is a thing called, and this is I would say a debating topic in the industry as well. It's like, what is the correct way to write code? And some people say like you can reduce a lot of your code by writing tests, which is you do a test driven development. So you gather your requirements, you write the tests first, and then you run the test. So all will be failing because you have no code written, and then you write your code to actually make those kind of like test cases passing. That means you're kind of adhering to the requirements, also making sure there are no bugs. But that's not all of it. There are so many different ways. You have regression testing, you have A/B testing, you have stress testing, all of that. They test different bugs in different ways. The fundamental ways, like the number one, I believe in our code that we really push for is the quality. So there's something called the let's go with the terms that I can't really recall the term correctly right now. It's like the completeness of a certain like a task. Or so when you submit your code basically has to be reviewed by someone that is a senior engineer or someone who is a subject matter expert, and it has to have a, a test attached to it. So no matter what code you write, you have a test guardrail that says
Wow.
it have a test that is also running with this code to make sure this is actually the correct thing. So say the next time someone actually changes my code, if something were to change, this test will fail, and either the test has to be updated because our requirements have changed, or the new code that is written is not right. So
I
that's how you kind of find the bugs and things like that. But there's many different ways. So if you are thinking about stress tests, for example, it's not quite finding bugs in the logic of the code. It's more about how you have structured your code. Like how does it handle load that is coming in? So that's gonna be that will be a different way of finding bugs, for example.
Okay, got it. Let's talk a little bit about diversity in science and technology. So you have women X in engineering is your kind of your, is it a hobby or is it like an activist project? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Um, so the project is it's not like a hobby or like the activist project. It's more of a platform. So it's an online
Oh, cool.
platform that has been built for students who are looking for basically mentorship. So it was built out of my empathy basically because I was a student not too long ago, and when I was a student, I found that I understood what I was doing in classes, right? But if you think about it, software permeates through every single fabric of the society. You think about your accounting, your healthcare, your newspaper, your finances. Every single thing is working on some kind of software these days, right? But when I was in college or university, I didn't quite realize like what the use of my education is going to be. So I really wish that like I could talk to someone about like, hey, how do I make use of my skills in certain different types of industry? Now, I was lucky enough that I got to work in so many different industries because I just strategized my work in the different ways. But not a lot of the students actually get that opportunity or will be going out there to kind of see how they can best leverage their education and their knowledge. So the platform is actually built to connect these students to working professional in different industries so they can ask questions and get mentorship out of like if say for example if I'm a lawyer, I can tell them about we have a need for your software engineering skills in XYZ different areas, and this is how you can help, and also have a working relationship built on top of that, because I think software is not just big tech. Software is basically everything.
Mhm, mhm. Is software going to eat the world, as they say? Uh,
I don't like that.
you don't like the term, but
I think it's going to make the world a better place. I think it's going to break barriers through every single imaginary barrier that we have put in ourselves.
yeah, one thing that's interesting that a lot of people don't realize is like the open source Linux operating system is in everything. I mentioned it to last week. I think it's pharmaceuticals. The pharmaceutical system has like Linux operation system under it. I
OS,
mean,
yep.
it's everywhere, right? It's everywhere. Um, do you work on mixed teams, or what's it like to lead in these areas for you as a woman?
Oh, great question, actually. So I have so far been the only woman in the whole team, in every single team I've been to so far.
Mhm.
And that starts from my university while I was working at many different companies to when I have joined my current company as well. Now, I have gotten used to it right now, but there is the initiatives that we are taking, for example, right now are uh, to fix the issues that we see about the representation of women and the diverse talents in general in the gaming and the tech industry. So one of the things that I have done at EA is I have mobilized a lot of the senior kind of decision makers around the company to make a symposium that kind of spans across multiple regions, basically multiple continents across all over the world for all EA locations to give any underrepresented talents access to career growth opportunities, just so that there's a level playing field for everyone. So that over the last 4 years, we have had about more than 12,000 attendees. And honestly, that has really helped shape like this like $30 billion company. And I was very proud of it. And the legacy still lives on, and we have multiple projects that are being built on top of that right now. Now, you said, how is it to lead from this position? I think you can take it in many different ways. I can be the trailblazing person, and obviously, I'm not saying you have to be the trailblazing person because you should not have to be the one that's doing it all the time. But if I find myself in a position where like I am the only one woman and I want to see more women in the field, I will try my best to create that environment that other women can come and succeed. So that was one of my initiatives. The other ones that we do, that I was also the founding member of, was which we have kind of female leadership circle, which call it the Leaning Circle. We have led a development for 100 plus, like a leadership, 100 plus women who attended our workshops over a couple of months, and they have taken on more and more leadership roles across different places as well. So I think that's what we do for like creating more spaces for other women to come in. Now, how is it working in this industry, so gaming and tech industry, as a woman? I do find that, so think about it. There's a statistics, I forget the exact number here right now. So when you go into an engineering school, for example, like software engineering school, the number of women in the class will be way visibly less than the number of male counterparts. So in my graduating class, I think out of 100 people that graduated, approximately, I think there was approximately 4 or 5 females. So there was such a shortage of it, and this is a pipeline problem. So think about it. We then go out into the world, and we have only 5 women that came out of the class that are going into this other industries. So obviously, I'm not going to see a lot of me in a different room. So that's something that we are also trying to fix. So that's some of the work that I'm trying to do with University of Victoria. But when you come into the industry, if you have graduated from that rigorous program and you have proven yourself already, I think one of the things that is very important to remember is you deserve to be in that room. That's something that you have to keep reminding yourself, but also at the same time, you are as good as everyone else in the room. So that's also something that I have basically come to embrace about myself. Is like, I am a technical person. I am a great leader. I am very good at what I do. And I also lead other people and organizations to actually make space for other women. I think that's how you can also position yourself. It's basically about what is the brand that you want to be known as. Do you want to be known as the only woman in the room, or do you want to be known as the person that is very technical, who happens to be also a person who is also very much in a leadership position, but also happens to be a woman. So I think that's how you can go about it.
Yeah, Elizabeth Pulitzer that I mentioned to you in the past, I think she's at University College London. She talks about the research on mixed teams where you have people from a diversity of backgrounds, men, women, and so forth, that these teams are they actually the most innovative. Can you talk a little bit about what's causing that?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I have said in many times in many different situations, that diversity of thoughts matter. Now, how do you get diversity? So let's talk about what a diversity of thought. You and I, Layne, will have a different point of view in many different subjects, just because the way that we were brought up, our gender, our races, our history, it all differs. So the way that you think is not gonna be exactly the same that I think. And that's the diversity of thoughts that we think in a room. Now, the best way to get diversity of thoughts is to have people from different walks of life. So it be gender, be it race, be it different religion, and all of that. You can get everyone in a room and you will get a lot of different opinions. Now, the reason that a high-performing team will often consist of a diverse team is because when you have a particular solution or like a problem, you will have to look at it from many different angles. But my point of view will only let me look at a problem from a certain point of view, and I'll be limited to certain options. Now, someone else will, with a completely different way of thinking, will think about the problem in a very different way.
That's right.
So now combining all of that, you might have a broader kind of scope of how you're solving a problem, and that gives you one of the best possible solution for a scenario. And that's why I think a lot of the high performing teams often contain a very, very diverse team members.
Well, I want to thank you for your time and for sharing with us the background, young innovators, women innovators. And I've been speaking with Tanjulia Akter of Electronic Arts and Frostbite. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.